Welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ perspective and an LGBTQ approach and a humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet where each of us belongs to either letter in the sexual alphabet, the 10 sexual alphabet, the LGBTQ, LGBTQIAAP. Now, today we had said that a new resolution of this year is going to be to discuss science, and one way we're going to be doing this will just be having small science snippets, and this is science news. And today in science news, I was very intrigued by this. Geneticists make new discovery about how a baby's sex is determined, and this is data December 15th, 2018, University of Melbourne. And the summary: medical researchers have made a new discovery about how baby sex is determined. It's not just about the X and Y chromosome. Increases or decreases the activity of genes which decide if we become male or female. Now, this is very important because we are a channel that focuses on LGBTQ sexuality. And this is a very important thing for any LGBTQ person. Reason being, your sexuality is not just determined by the sperm, whether it is X or Y, but it is determining factors. As I said in the other video, you have estrogen flashes, you have the type of egg, there are X chromosome. Then if you are an XYY child, it's because the sperm has an extra Y. It puts another Y chromosome inside the egg, apart from the other Y chromosome that normally enters there. So there are very many reasons as to why, and this, because of these many factors, sexuality is very diversified. And of course, not everybody is LGBTQ, but everybody is in the LGBTQ plus bracket, because the straight people believe they are supposed to be allies to the LGBTQ community. Now, let's go back. Now, medical researchers at Melbourne discovered a new discovery about how a baby's sex is determined. It's not just about the XY chromosomes, but decreases the activities of genes which decide if we become male or female. So there are regulators that increase the activity of genes or decrease the activity of genes which decide if we become male or female. So depending on the activity, the activity has a great determination. Now, the sex of a baby is determined by its chromosome makeup at conception. An embryo, so are you saying when your sex is determined? Very important subject. It is determined at conception, not at birth. You know, people make mistakes and they think male, and then they give you male, and then or female. No. This is why when you want to determine, in fact, where the world is going, you will have to do genetic analysis of the child's sex and indicate it. Because there are some children who are XXY, there are children who are quadruple X, there are children who are XYY, there are children who, even if they are XY, meaning a boy, there is something that their testes may not be balanced. It may be one-sided. The others, they don't descend. So it would be advisable. This is my view. That's if the world wants to go through the transparent system. You know, the world is at a crisis. It's at a junction. It does not know whether to go through the system or to go to the translucent system, whereby a few things can be known but not everything. The transparent system is a system whereby everything is known. There is no hiding about the details of the human being. And then the opaque system is the one that protects privacy and does not allow anybody to know anything about you. So when you are born, most of the world has been in the opaque system. You know, children are born, is a boy, he has a penis. Is a girl, has a vagina. In fact, that's what used to happen in the past. When intersex children were born, they were killed at birth because they did not know what to call them. Some communities did not keep them. Other communities, which were kinder, they kept the children. That's what it's called. So, okay, let's go on. So, basically, the world has to decide, do we want a transparent system? Do we want an opaque system? Do you want a translucent system? Or do we want a mixture of transparency and opacity and translucency? We'll do that in another video, but not today. The Y chromosome carries a critical gene called SY, which acts on another gene called SO69 to start the development of testes in the embryo. High levels of the SOX9 gene are needed for normal testes development. Are you seeing? So if you have low levels of the SOX9 gene, you may not have a normal testis. And that's what they have said. However, if there's some disruption to the SOX9 activity and only low levels are present, a testis will not develop, resulting in a baby with a disorder of sex development. So this is why you have to understand sexuality is natural. And nobody should be oppressed because of his sexuality. Lead author of the study, Professor Andrew Sinclair, said that 90% of human DNA is made up of so-called junk DNA or dark matter, which contains no genes but does carry important regulators that increase or decrease gene activity. These regulatory segments of DNA are called enhancers, he said. If these enhancers that control testis genes are disrupted, it may lead to a baby being born with a disorder of sex development. Professor Sinclair, so you must understand, this is not saying that it's an addition of a chromosome. So this is just disruption of already determined child. The child has been determined to be a boy, but because the enhancers have gone through disruption, they may not be fully boy, even though they are a boy. There's a difference between the genetic disorder, sexual disorder, whereby there's an additional chromosome. So this one is not the addition of a chromosome, but it is the disruption of genetic activity. The disruption of genetic activity in the enhancers. Now, Professor Sinclair, who is also a member of the Pediatrics Department of the University of Melbourne, said this study sought to understand how the SOX9 gene was regulated by enhancers in disorders of sex development. We discovered 3 enhancers that together ensure the SOX9 gene is turned on to a high level in an XY embryo, leading to normal testes and male development. Importantly, we identified XX patients who would normally SOX9 and instead develop testes. Yeah, you can find a woman. This is a very good study. This is now where you find intersex part of a vagina, but they have testes because of high levels of SOX9. In addition, we found XY patients who had lost 3 these SOX9 enhancers, therefore levels of SOX9, and developed ovaries instead of testes. So again, these are now the men, they are born intersex externally, but internally they have ovaries because they had low levels of SOX9. Now Ms. Croft said human sex reversal, such as seen in these cases, is caused by gain or loss of these vital enhancers that regulate the SOX9 gene. Consequently, these 3 enhancers are required for normal testes and male development. This study is significant because in the past we started at genes to diagnose these patients, but we have shown you need to look outside the genes to the enhancers. Very important point. She's now saying don't just look at the genes, but look at the enhancers that influence the genetic activity. It's like football. There is a difference between playing football in sunny weather and playing football in wet weather. So the rain is an enhancer and it can influence the game. And the sun is also an enhancer, it can influence the game. Beautiful. Professor Sinclair said that across the human genome, there were about 1 enhancers controlling about 22,000 genes. Are you seeing that? See the power of the enhancers? These enhancers lie on the DNA but outside genes in regions previously referred to as junk DNA or dark matter. He said the key to diagnosing many disorders may be found in these enhancers, which hide in the poorly understood dark matter of our DNA. Brilliant, brilliant study by Professor Sinclair. And I would advise you to come and read this from Science Daily. Geneticists make new discovery about how baby sex is determined. So all my LGBTQ brothers and sisters and those who are in between, we are our sexuality is determined at conception, and there are very many factors that happen that can influence who you are sexually today. Stress yourself, find out who you are, and accept yourself that way. All right, see you.